as well, especially when you struggle with ADHD symptoms. Burnout is always a potential problem because we do have a tendency to oversell, push ourselves a little bit. And also, like you said,
it's time to down tools for a bit. Welcome to the ToolShed, the influential podcast for anyone and everyone involved in the building industry. Here's your host, Mick Hawes.
Hey there, before we kick off, I want to share a really important thought. 71% of you who watch this channel frequently don't subscribe. So if you've enjoyed any video you've ever watched, can you do me a favor and hit the subscribe button? It helps the channel more than you think, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests get. So let's go.
Yeah, it's something that we used to suggest back in the time management days, because back in the day, I don't know whether you've seen them, or maybe you can remember in the history books, people used to use in and out trays. I'm sure people still use them today, and their in tray on their desk is full of stuff. And one of the suggestions that we made, very few people ever did it, but was to get everything in your in tray and chuck it in the bin.
Yeah.
Everything. Because what we found when people did it, and when I've done it, is the important things resurface, but all of the rest of it doesn't, because it actually wasn't important, but it certainly created overwhelm because you had this big pile of stuff staring at you day in and day out, and you never seemed to make any progress. So, it sounds like a great suggestion to clear out your garage and leave it all on the side of the road for the council to pick it up and take it away, and don't put anything back. We talked about discipline a little moment ago, and I have this feeling that I really agree with a lot of what you said from the perspective. Like I'd listened to David Goggins some years ago. And it's just
good old
discipline.
David.
Yeah, and a good friend of mine's had a consultation with him face to face in Sydney one time, and told me about the experience, and it just freaks me out. It's like I believe that we need to have discipline, but also I don't know that most of us are wired to perform at that level of discipline, like running 100 miles with shattered, bones in your legs.
If David Goggins and Alex Hormozy, listening to them, was going to get you to do the thing that you're not doing, you would already be doing the thing that you're not doing. So often I'm working with people who are aware that there is something that they need to do that they haven't found the time for and they haven't been able to make progress on, that if they did it, when they really think about it, it would be the thing that would grow their business to the next level, which is what they want to do. The hiring, the delegating, all of these kinds of pieces. And they're just still not doing it. And for like most people often come to me and say, hey, I'm feeling pretty overwhelmed. Should I wait and talk to you next year when I'm feeling more relaxed? I'm like, no, this is what we do. We work with people in the overwhelm because that's the biggest struggle. That's the thing that you're often struggling with is, I know what to do, but I don't know how to do it. Yeah,
that happens so often that I just remember back in the day, again, with teaching the time management, because I used to have to sell the seats in it as well, and the number one reason as to people wouldn't sign up for the full day session at that time was, guess what? Too busy.
Didn't have enough time.
And it's like, what? It just never ever made sense to me. And the crazy thing was, and so I love what you just said then, like, don't wait, let's do it now while you're overwhelmed, is that it was absolutely obvious that the people who turned up to learn about self-management at the time, when they believed they were just that flat out, they probably shouldn't be there, they got so much more out of it than the people who waited until things were calm before they
Sometimes
turned
waiting
up.
until things are calm is actually a real downside. I've had people wait until things are calm and they say they have a holiday, for example, and then they come to me. And then I'm like, great, well, what is all the stress and pressure that you were struggling with that you now need help with? And they sort of go like, oh, well, actually, it's pretty good right now. I'm like, well, maybe we should be doing this when you're up against it, because that's when we're not only when we can give you the strategies, but also it's when you can test them in real time. Like everything that we build, we want you to be using pretty much, out of the box.
But you've also got the impetus, the motivation to do it, because there's
the fire,
things going off everywhere, fires everywhere, and you're trying to put them out, and it's hard to get that motivation when things are okay. Like we're funny cattle, aren't we? That we when things are going bad, we don't reach out because things are going bad.
Somebody said, and I love it, some podcaster said, we are amazing firefighters and amazing arsonists in our own business.
Yeah, that's so funny because I've often worked with people who their objective is to get some freedom from their business. Like I used to do a lot of work with real estate agents sort of 25, 30 years ago. And I just noticed that it wasn't that difficult to get them freedom. Like you give them systems and processes and to be able to get their shit together, and they ended up with a whole lot more freedom. But because they didn't design a place for themselves to arrive, so they didn't have a purpose outside of that, they became the pyromaniac firefighter. And they would come back into their business and
we
cause
should run a
trouble.
Conference.
So I've got a reason to get up. You also mentioned the word awareness a little while ago, and I'd love you to unpack that from the perspective of just being aware of your tendencies and so forth. I think is very, very helpful. Some years ago, I read a book called The 6 Types of Working Genius, and had to do a test, and it showed you which 2 were your genius, which 2 you were good at, but it took energy away from you. It didn't give you energy, and which 2 you were lousy at. And I found that, like, for instance, we run a 3-day in-person session with our members once a year, and I would write it and get everything prepared and the slides and all of that sort of stuff. And then with a month to go, I would rewrite it and come up with something better. And I honestly, every time I find myself completely rewriting it the night before because I came up with something better. And then I did this 6 types of working geniuses, and it turns out that I do my best work under pressure. So now I don't even worry about it until like a couple of days before the 3-day session. And I'm always learning and studying like what we can pass on and what we could do, but I don't design it until the very last minute, and it's always. But I'm just saying that from the perspective that I was really distressed previously because I felt that I was meant to be organised well ahead of time, and it turns out that I'll actually do a better job if I don't do that. So, what do you think about this awareness of your tendencies?
It's an interesting one. I would definitely say that being awareness is good. Like, I'm not saying we don't want you to be aware. We want you to have the results from awareness. But the awareness itself is really, really powerful because a lot of times it comes with a huge amount of confidence.
Yes.
So often when I'm working with people, and they can be very successful CEOs running multi-million-dollar companies, and they still have this sense of being kind of lousy because they feel like they are, yes, they're successful, but they're doing it in a way that's contributing more to burnout. It's not necessarily the way they're supposed to be doing it, like you mentioned before. And there's a sense of sort of inadequacy that can be very hard to shake and also make it very hard to show up as a leader. And part of being a leader is, holding other people accountable, but then they feel like they struggle with accountability and showing up themselves. And so it makes it harder to do that. So there's all these pieces that go into it that we unpack because a lot of the awareness is hey, look, you don't have a superpower. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not a superpower ADHD person. You have super strong strengths that you're amazing at, and you have super strong weaknesses that you really struggle with.
Yeah.
And so what we need to do is we need to understand how to manage your weaknesses so that we can focus on your strengths, and then also how to give things to other people, and they will tend to have the opposite strengths and weaknesses. So they might struggle with creative problem solving, with creative thinking, with ideation, but they're really good at just getting the thing done on repeat when it needs to be done. And you struggle with that. So we need to, have that mutual respect and that mutual relationship. And so often, I mean, I've seen people not only really succeed in their industry, but also get along so much better with their team because they understand why they're doing things, and their team understands, even if they never mention the word ADHD, their team has a sense of, oh, this person is like confident in who they are. They understand their weaknesses. They're owning those, but they still are holding me accountable for what I need to do. So it really works in that way.
Yeah. You mentioned the word burnout. What are the behaviours that perhaps lead to that we could unpack so people could go, I think I do that? Because burnout's just it's an awful thing, and some people never come back from it.
And it's really common as well, especially when you struggle with ADHD symptoms. Burnout is always a potential problem because we do have a tendency to oversell, push ourselves a little bit. And also, like you said, if you're struggling with ADHD symptoms, a lot of times people are more likely to want to do things at the last minute, which can be great. But, maybe if you're still trying to do it like you did it in your 20s, I've had a lot of people be like, oh, turns out I can't not sleep and get everything done the last minute. That's not sustainable in my 30s. I have a family, things like that make it really important for you to think about how to avoid burnout. And so much of it is not doing things in a way that feels awful, that is a grind, that means you hate your business, because at the end of the day, your business is a voluntary activity. You could quit and go get a job. You need to want to be here. I can't remember who said it, but somebody said there's 2 reasons businesses fail: cash flow and the founder quits. Those are the 2 biggest reasons. And so burnout is a big part of the founder quits.
Yeah. You've mentioned you use the term if you're suffering from ADHD symptoms, and I like the way that you position that, because to me it's like, well, in that case it doesn't matter whether I actually have it or whether I don't. It's like the symptoms are present. So, that sort of leads me into thinking about what can we say to people who kind of lean on it like a crutch, because I do know that is out there, and someone would lead themselves to believe that I've actually got something like ADHD, and they use it as an excuse. We've still got to do something about it. I just love the way that you position that. It's like, if you suffer from ADHD symptoms, that's the problem. Here's the solution. So it really doesn't matter whether you have it or not. And I want to unpack that a little deeper later. If someone does have it, what they should do.
It's it's definitely, I mean, for one of the reasons I even say that is because even if you did decide you wanted to get diagnosed, in some places it can be a 6-month wait to actually get the process. So, you could spend a lot of time in limbo, and, you might as well do something while you're there. In terms of excuses, it's a funny one. I don't necessarily see a lot of people doing that, although we only take a certain number of people and you have to qualify. So we might be qualifying people out.
Well, you would be, I'd say.
Yeah. But in terms of the process, it's really just about, these are your struggles. These are your strengths. What are your goals? Let's help you reach them. Like, that's what I care about. What are your goals? I have people who want to make their first $1 million. I have people who want to make their first 10 million, who want to, really grow their business, or they want to make sure their lead flow is solid. And it just comes down to being like, okay, if this is what you want and these are your goals, then this is what you're going to need to do to get there. And this is the ADHD-friendly strategy that'll help you do it, that'll make it easier, that'll make it something you actually do. And let's do it together. And that's what we do. And we talk about it was super boring and I didn't do it. And we have a lot of openness about that. But at the end of the day, it doesn't stop anyone from doing it. And one of the things I love in the community is we have like a wins channel, and people post their wins. We have people posting wins every day, and that for a lot of people is a bit of a wake up call to say like, hey, yeah, you have ADHD, and let's get some stuff done. Let's reach some goals.
Is there a reason, an important reason to get a proper diagnosis of ADHD? Like, is it so intense or powerful in some people that they need to have a proper diagnosis for medication or something like that? I'm just thinking that the majority of people that I interact with that believe that they have it in some form, speaking to someone like yourself would be just fine. Like they're functioning in society, but they're probably not very effective.
Yeah, a lot of people that I work with, about 50% of the people I work with don't have an official diagnosis.
Yeah,
they don't want one, and that's totally fine. I respect that. The reasons to get a diagnosis are, I think one of the reasons are if you really want to just make sure it's ADHD. So you might have some concerns of like maybe it's another kind of mental health struggle, which we talked about before. Maybe that is masquerading as ADHD, and so that might be important. I remember somebody, it was a psychiatrist who said, you probably have something. Like people who spend $1,000 on a diagnosis, which is often how much it costs, generally have something. It's just maybe it's not ADHD, maybe it's something else. Executive functioning struggles strategies are still going to be very helpful regardless because they work for a lot of things. And then if you want to get medication, if you feel like medication is the path for you, and I've had people on my podcast who give out medication, who have ADHD themselves, and we've had really interesting conversations about medication or not. I don't take medication, but that's a personal decision. I know a lot of people who've benefited from it. Then you will absolutely have to go and get the diagnosis in order to get that medication.
Yep. Somebody listening to this wants to reach out to you. I'm assuming the first place to go is the website, but you also mentioned a process, a chatbot that they could have a chat with. Is that the first place to start? Is that the best place to start?
Yeah. So if you want to get started, you're like, that sounds cool. Let's get focused like right now. The fastest way to do that is to just message us Mick 2025, so we know where you've come from. At Instagram at Unconventional Organisation. Our Instagram page, and then we will give you an AI bot that's trained on, my processes, and it will take you through exactly what you need to do, and it will help you just get started. If you want to learn more about what we do, the second best place to go is our podcast, the ADHD Skills Lab. We talk to business owners. We go through all of these different processes. And then we also have our website at Unconventional Organisation. And we do have a program, Focused Balanced Growth, that you can apply for. We only take a select number of people per month because I onboard people myself. I help them figure out what they need to be doing myself. And so if you want to apply for that, then you can do it on the website.
So somebody who does that and has reached out to you and is going through that initial conversation or discovery process, what might they experience? I'd just like to sort of get into a level of detail about that from the perspective that, I believe that many people sort of are hesitant to do something like this, and I'd really want to encourage them to do that. So I want to sort of lubricate the pathway as best as possible to get rid of the resistance. So what would they expect so it's not so scary and the unknown?
Well, the first thing I'd say is the whole process right from the beginning is very, very ADHD friendly. People are always, mentioning that as part of it. So there's nothing super boring. There's nothing to fill out. You get an opportunity to talk to me. I have a video where I ask you a few questions. You get to respond, voice, text, whatever makes sense for you. And that will take you through, what does the program look like, answer all of your questions and see if you're a fit for it. Once you're in the program, the first thing that you do is you do a one-on-one with me. So we spend an hour, we do an audit of your business, we look at your goals, and we identify what is the next needle moving task, the important task that you need to do. And we set you up with a 2-week challenge to do that task. So immediately you're getting support, you're getting access to resources that are going to be either done for you or done with you to help you through everything. And things like, but I didn't want to do it because it was boring and I never had time. We have solutions for all of those problems. We hear that all the time. So we take you through a 2-week challenge. And then after that, you'll meet with me again and we will put you on a 7-week cycle and we just help you. Basically, the way I like to describe it is our goal is that every day you wake up, you know exactly what you need to do, you know exactly how you're going to do it. And every week you have a win in your business and you start making those shifts to actually grow, which for a lot of people is something they haven't been able to do for years because of their ADHD.
Yeah. Doesn't sound scary at all.
No, it's pretty fun. And I'm not intimidating, I promise.
Final question, and you may need to have a deep think about it, but everyone listening to this is fundamentally running their own business, and pretty much everyone has experienced this, the idea that they had, the romantic notion of what their business would look like before they started.
Yeah.
Ends up being very, very different to how it turned out in reality. So can you think of just one thing that you didn't expect before you started your business that you've found out through running your business that you could share with others that they could perhaps learn from or avoid? What didn't you expect and it turned up in your business and you've kind of figured it out on the fly?
Yeah. I guess I don't know if this isn't really a negative thing. This is more something that just comes to mind is I never expected that running a business, how much it would change me.
Yeah.
I felt like the person that I was at the beginning and the person I am now is very, very different. Like how I show up, how I teach, how I talk to my team. All of those things had to go through a massive shift. And part of that shift was, getting incredible support, being around other people who'd done it. And I think that would be the biggest thing is that it's definitely a personal development program in itself. And sometimes people will say, well, I just don't feel like I'm the kind of person who could lead a team. And the truth is you probably aren't right now. But if you want the goal, if you want to reach the goals that you have, then you will have to become that person. And that's fun and a little bit scary.
Yeah. I lied. It wasn't my last question. This one is because I always like to sort of get recommendations and pick people's brains through their experience. The majority of business owners read or at least listen to audiobooks to try and pick some good ideas up. What would be the one through your journey that you have read that impacted you that you would recommend for either a personal development book or a business book, but one that sort of comes to mind that you've gone, that had an impact on me and I would be happy to recommend it.
Yeah. That's a really good question. Let me actually, I always listen to those books on Audible. Yeah. I apologize to everybody who doesn't think that's appropriate.
No, I've got Audible on my phone. Don't worry about that.
But it's a great way to get stuff done. So I think if I have a look at my books that I've really enjoyed, I mean, I think the E-Myth Revisited was really good.
Yes. Michael Gerber.
I liked I would say Zero Resistance Selling by Maxwell Maltz was really, really good as well.
That's an old classic.
Yeah, really good. So some of those sales books I think were pretty amazing because a lot of times. And then I have to shout out the book called Software as a Science by Dan
I haven't heard of
Martell
that
and
one.
Matt Burlack. Yeah, it's a newer book. It came out this year. It's really, really good, very practical. It's for SaaS businesses specifically, but it's actually for anybody who's running a service business. The processes are usable. I've had both Dan Martell and Matt as mentors, so I highly, highly recommend that book as well.
He's a legend, Dan Martell. And just sort of going back to your comment about you read a few sales books, and I just think that they are really a profound and valuable resources for anybody, whether you're in sales or not, because most people think they're not. But whenever you're having a conversation with somebody else and you've got an opinion, you're trying to help your children, help a friend, whatever, that's sales.
Yeah, 100%. And if you're in business, you're in sales, because somebody has to be in sales, and it should probably be you.
Yes, absolutely. I just want to say thank you so much for putting the time aside, particularly this close to Christmas. Like, we are about 1.5 meters away from Christmas as we're recording this, and so it's just it's wonderful that you were able to put the time aside to do that before Christmas. Really appreciate what you're doing. It's impressive and inspiring to have found someone who, like, it's such a narrow niche that you're in, but incredibly valuable and helpful for so many people. So just, wanted to give you a tip of the hat for the work that you're doing. And thank you for sharing your time and your knowledge on the podcast today.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
So there you have it, folks. That was this episode. I'm not sure what number it is. I've lost count. It's 160-something, episode 160-something. That was Skye Waterson from Unconventional Organisation. We will make sure that all of the links for the Instagram, for the website, the podcast will all be there, and I just encourage you to jump in and have that conversation with the bot, because I personally think that being aware of what's going on and how you work best is very, very valuable, and having someone in your corner like Skye to help you with those specific challenges, regardless of whether you've got a diagnosis of ADHD. I just know feeling more in control and using systems and processes and having people guide you to be more organised and more fulfilled and help you to achieve your goals is absolutely worthwhile. So use all of those links in the description to go and discover, and hopefully that will be helpful for you. We'll be back with another episode of this podcast. Before you know it, I'm Mick Hawes from Builders Business Black Belt. That is all. I'm out. Bye for now.
You've been listening to the ToolShed. If this podcast struck a chord with you, make sure you spread the word by sharing it with your mates in the building industry. We love your help to make the building industry better for everyone involved.